All right, folks. So as I stated, this is Money Talks, a 4-part virtual workshop series on personal finance and credit, financial organization and routines, financial independence, and being your own boss, and, most importantly of all, leaving a legacy for your family. That is what many entrepreneurs get into their own business for, right? They want to be able to do things the way they want to be, do things the way they want to, and just not only leave a legacy for their family, but for their community, right? That's what we're all about, making sure that we are all working together, collaborating, so that we can kind of move the needle, so to speak. So this series is presented by Pastone Enterprise Center, and we have our great vendors, New Level Strategies and Financial Jevity, that put this content together, again, to really just help people get their finances situated. It's a very, it's a dreaded word, but it's very necessary for us to really hone in on what it is that we have to be doing. What kind of, just again, what routines are we doing? What kind of habits, maybe bad habits we have that we can kind of veer off from and create new good habits that are really going to go ahead and work on, getting that financial independence and legacy for your family. So I will go ahead and kick it over to David Krause and Letitia Harris, officer. Take it away, guys.
Hi, I'm David Krause, and I'm a partner with New Level Strategies, and we just celebrated our 4-year anniversary last week. Woohoo! And we provide services to the nonprofit community and small businesses and social enterprises, and we're very happy to be partnering with Pastone in this 4-part Money Talk series. We also want to thank our sponsors, KeyBank and Five Star Bank. Without them, we couldn't have made this happen.
Yes, thank you to our sponsors. Hi, I'm Letitia Harris, officer. I'm founder of Financial Jevity. Our main goal is to empower you to make better financial decisions. Better decisions lead to greater outcomes, and financial education leads to longevity. So while we're getting started, we're going to put up our first poll, just asking everyone, how did you hear about this workshop?
So we got a good, looks like we have 43 out of 52 people so far.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and talk about what our agenda is for today. It's building blocks on how to build and maintain your personal budget. We'll share some techniques with you that we hope you find helpful, and as an extension, how to build your company budget. Those same kinds of techniques are going to apply there. And we'll be building up to the relationship between your personal and your business finances.
Okay, so before we, get into the actual workshop, we are going to do a poll just to confirm, do you have a personal budget? So if you can all participate in that, that will help us to make sure that we're meeting everyone's needs during the workshop.
and there go our poll results for that second poll.
So it looks like about half of our participants have personal budgets. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Our goal will be to get the other half, all with personal budgets. By what we hear today.
Right.
So the word budget is a horrible word. Would you agree, Letitia?
No, it's a great word. And we're going to convince everyone here that it's a great word. So before we, get further into the workshop, I want everyone to, to comment in the chat what words come to mind when you hear the word budget. So we got limit, goals. Yes, Sandra, that was on my list. Goals, organized finances, restrictions, saving money, accountability, mindset, paying off debt. Okay, savings, committed, limit and saving money. Okay, planning vision. Okay, so David, what would you say comes to mind when you hear the word budget?
I think Lathanette read my mind. I like to think of it as a plan. It's a plan.
Definitely.
Going forward, yeah.
Mike said managing your money. Tiffany said planning. Yes, definitely. That's on my list too. It's a blueprint, reaching your goals, prosperity, it's a roadmap. So we're, going to go over in detail, how to get to a place where everyone uses these words.
Yes, agreed. So the first thing we want to do is when we build our personal budget, we're going to talk about it on a monthly basis because I think that's maybe the easiest way to think about it. First thing you want to do is you want to identify your sources of income. We've got a little screenshot of a spreadsheet here. You would put your salary in, net of taxes, your take-home pay, income from your business, if you have a business, any savings or investment income, if you have retirement income, that would go up there, and any other types of income that I've overlooked here, like rental income, if you own rental property. You want to sum up your income on a monthly basis.
So just some things to think about when it comes to income. One of the big mistakes that people make is not actually calculating their income. So if you're not salaried, your check can vary weekly. And some things that people don't take into consideration is actually calculating how much your check should be. Sometimes employers get it wrong. I know my brother got like a $600 check 2 years later. He wasn't calculating how much his check should be. So that's one thing to think about. And taxes. Never assume that you're, have it correct or you're supposed to claim zero. Everyone's not. And I know they changed the form. So there is a link on the IRS website, which is the IRS withholding calculator. We're going to drop the link in the chat. And if you can't find it in the chat, you can search IRS withholding calculator, and that will help you, actually see if you have the correct amount of taxes coming out. I know one of my clients fought me tooth and nail on it, but then when they used the calculator and actually changed it, it ended up being a savings of $200 a paycheck. So that's a lot of money. So that's some things to think about when you're going through income. Also, just when you're trying to actually go over what income you should use, if your hours vary, use the minimum amount of hours you would get as your basis for each week.
Letitia made a couple of really good points there. I just want to amplify. She's suggesting you be conservative in your estimates, which is a good approach. And the withholding issue is really important because if you have too much withheld, resulting in a large refund from the government in the spring, all you've done is given the government an interest-free loan. So you want to balance that. And like Letitia said, you want your withholdings to be as as accurate as possible, so that you're not over or under withholding.
Also, sometimes I know that's a huge fear for people, that they won't get a refund. So changing with your withholding doesn't always guarantee that you're not going to receive a refund. So that's definitely something that you want to take into consideration, because most of the time our refunds are from credit, not necessarily us overpaying. Yes, thank you, Deanne, for sharing. The link is in the chat as well for the calculator.
IRS, great. So the other half of your budget is going to be the expense side. And so you want to sit down and list out your known expenses. And one of the best ways of doing that might be to go look at your bank account or your credit card and categorize your expenses. A lot of banks and credit cards now offer that kind of reporting to you. So, you know, all of your expenses will be sorted by type of expense, and it'll make the process a little bit easier. But on the screen there, you'll see a whole bunch of typical expenses that we all have. And you fill that out and you sum them up, and that would be your monthly expense total.
Right. So some things to think about when you're going through your expenses: definitely double check your bank statements. With everyone using, you know, their cards more frequently, sometimes it's hard to remember, you know, what you swiped your card for. I know something that helps you be able to track your spending are apps. There's a ton of them available, but one that I use personally is the Spending Tracker app. It looks like a little brown wallet. It's free. You can create your own categories, and literally when you rotate your phone, it'll create like pie charts showing you which percentage of your money is going where. Things to think about when you're going through your expenses: are they fixed? Are they flexible? Fixed items are things that are going to be the same every day, every month, or, you know, every quarter. Flexible is going to vary. And then just, is it essential or is it non-essential? Like, is this going to be, do I need this to live? Food, shelter, water? Or is it something that I could go without when you're going through your expenses? So you should know what is the biggest, you know, what percentage of your money is what's eating your money up the most. So I know for a lot of people it's eating out, like the lady mentioned in the video. Also, something that people don't think about is ATM fees. Try to, if you're, you know, using cash for certain things, maybe make your account that you're spending your money on a local bank that you can walk to, so that you can go to the ATM and you won't pay ATM fees. I remember when ATM fees were $1, and now they're like $3 or $4 at some banks, on top of you getting a surcharge from your actual bank if you use a different ATM. So that's something to think about as well.
And it's best that we not assume the bank always has it right, because there could be erroneous transactions on your bank statement, or someone might have gotten access to your account that you didn't know about. So it's always really important to download that statement and look it over.
Yeah. Also, subscriptions. Now that everyone is using Netflix, Hulu, go through your subscriptions. I know a couple clients of mine, they had subscriptions to Gems or to Apple, iTunes that they don't even use, because now people are using, you know, other things. So just go through and see what subscriptions you're still in.
Now we're going to try to bring it all together in a multi-month budget, where you'll build a budget and then you'll plot your actuals. So I think that's our next slide. There we go. So this is the same layout. It's over 3 months. And the thing we're trying to show you here is that if you lay out your plan and then you chart how it went, you're gonna get better with your estimates over time. And seeing how month by month things change is going to be really helpful too. And Letitia talked about whether something was, you know, critical expense or something maybe you could do without, that'll shake out in this kind of schedule as well. And month by month, if your income exceeds your expenses, you're adding to your wealth. And we'll see a statement of net worth later on. Next, I think we're going to hear some personal budget tips from Letitia.
So just some things to think about. One of the biggest tips that help you be able to stick to your budget, kind of like tricking yourself, is to have separate accounts. Account that is specifically for your bills, an account that is specifically for your spending money, and a separate savings account. Then when you have everything all in one account, it's hard to keep track of where things are going. And sometimes if you tend to overspend, if you have your bills set up in a separate account, it's easier to dig yourself out of a hole if you accidentally put yourself in one.
One thing we want to stress is if anybody has any questions, feel free to type them in the chat window. Or if you can't, if you're not in front of your computer and you're on your phone, just go ahead and unmute yourself and jump in.
Yes, definitely. If you have any questions, type them in the chat or let us know.
Because we want this to be as interactive as possible.
Right. Also, just, when budgeting, think ahead. Sometimes we mess up our budget for things that we know are coming. We know the kids are going to need school clothes for the summer and the winter, We know that we're going to have Christmas. We know that our car needs an oil change. Like, think ahead on things that are big items that could potentially mess your budget up. So if you plan ahead, you can put a little bit away at a time. And a lot of banks offer a holiday savings account, to save ahead of time for Christmas.
We've had a question come in. How many bank accounts should I have? Letitia, how would you answer that to one of your clients?
It really depends on the person, because as your budget expands, you can end up with more. In the beginning, you should at least have a bills account, a savings account, and an account that you use for your spending. But, if your budget, like if you're also going to have, like, say, your business to have a separate bank account and savings account. If you have a home or rental property, that property should have a separate bank account as well, so that it's easier at that time to sort out, okay, I spent this for this, the house, things like that.
And to just track your accounting for your business or your personal, having those transactions in separate accounts is going to make things so much easier. So otherwise you won't know if it's a business or a personal expense. Great advice. Next, we're just going to look at a basic monthly budget for your business, what that might look like. Same kind of concepts apply. Top line is going to be your sales. So however you're making money through your business, that's your top line income. Many businesses would have a cost of goods sold. So you back that out and that becomes your gross profit. Then all of your other expenses shake out from there. Labor, rent, utilities, your computer supplies, etc. And at the bottom would be the net, your monthly cash flow. And our goal obviously would have that monthly cash flow be positive, because then that flows back to your personal budget, your lifestyle, and it increases your net worth. So the next slide, just a couple of reminders about when you're building out your multi-month budget, your ongoing budget with your budget and actuals. You want to keep those predicted figures. Those are your budget numbers. You want to keep those because you want to see how your plan changed and how your estimates are improving over time, because they will get better. And then you want to compare your budget versus actual. It's not as much work as it sounds like, and it will pay off in the long run. And we've touched a little bit on this. This will be the next slide. There we go. Your business income, when we looked at that business budget, the bottom line income is going to flow to your personal budget. So if it's cash flow negative, then for that month, you're basically subsidizing your business with your personal funds. And if it's cash flow positive, then that's increasing your personal net worth. And Letitia made this point, and it's a really, really important point for new entrepreneurs, is to keep your business records separate from your personal finances. Just helps you track your business success, your personal success, makes your tax work a lot easier. There's a lot of interchange between your personal and your business. All we're talking about is keeping the record straight and distinct. At the bottom of this slide, there's some terminology that we'll see on the next slide when we're looking at a statement of net worth. Assets, I like to think assets are what you own, liabilities are what you owe, and the net worth is the difference. So if your assets are greater than your liabilities, we'll see some examples of those on the next slide, then you have a positive net worth. That's what we want. We want to increase that net worth.
Okay, so we're just going to do a quick poll to see, you know, do you currently have a budget for your business? Remember, these polls are anonymous, so feel free to answer them.
So about 30% of you have a business budget. For those of you who don't have a business budget, what would you, if you feel comfortable in the chat window, what are the reasons? Is it a lot of work, or is it a challenging exercise, or what kind of difficulties and challenges do you face in building out a business budget?
Well, that's a good one. They don't have a business yet, but you're going to be prepared. Definitely going to be prepared for when you do.
Yes, that comment about it's not too early to go ahead and do one now, even if you don't have a business. So if you're thinking about building a business, starting a business, your first step is going to be to lay out a budget. So this is helpful. Thanks. I think we're going to have another poll now with our Jeopardy music. Is that right?
Well, just more so the relationship between the two before we get into that. So when preparing to, you know, start a business, having your finances in order is going to help you, because most of the time when you're a small business owner, the very first thing that they want is your income information. You may have to personally sign for a business that in the beginning when you're getting your business off the ground. So it'll be easier for you to actually input your information into the statements that the banks are requesting. Everything will be in order. Also, if you know how to maintain a personal budget, it'll make it 10 times easier to be able to maintain a business budget.
Yeah, to build on that, this kind of statement is pretty typical of a lender. So if you went to Pat Stone with a business idea or you want to expand your business, for the most part, they're gonna need to see your personal net worth statement, your assets and your liabilities, because as a lot of us entrepreneurs know, you are almost your business. So your business doesn't have much history, credit history particularly, then they're going to want to know, well, let's see what the individual story is, the owner. Are there any questions? Anybody have any questions about this statement of net worth? Because this is like maybe the heart of a lot of your loan application process and your credit reviews and everything else.
Yeah, I have one. So what about deferment? So with the college, the student loans, if they're in deferment, what would you put that? I know it's a liability, but would you even put that on it because it's in deferment at the time?
I would think,
I will.
Go ahead, Letitia.
Sorry. I definitely would, and then possibly just save that money, because one thing with student loans, the interest accrues daily. So even when they're in deferment, the interest is still accruing. So what you could do is just pay that payment to the interest, even though it's in deferment, or you can save it so that you're adding to your, emergency fund or savings.
Got it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would ask who's ever asking you to fill this form out, you could explain that situation to them. But I agree with Letitia. I think it belongs on the liability section of this statement, but maybe a note that it's in deferment.
Yeah,
might be appropriate as well. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. It's a great question.
So when a lender is looking at your credit history, they're gonna dig into your assets and your liabilities on a personal side when they're trying to decide whether or not they're going to give you a personal loan or a business loan. And we're going to talk about credit in our next session, in our next workshop.
Okay, so before we do anything else, we're going to put up the next poll, which allows you to select, which restaurant voucher you would like for participating in the workshop. So this one's not anonymous, but if you would like the voucher, you have to complete it.
All right, we still have a couple people voting. We know food is very important for everyone, so we want to make sure that you're rewarded for your participation in today's workshop series. So we just have a couple more people voting. We'll give you a little extra time for that.
We had a question as well about the people who are calling in. How are they going to submit their votes?
You can, I'll actually just put an email in the chat, and you guys can, send me an email directly. That way I can make sure to send you the voucher to the restaurant of your choice. So this is my direct email for anyone that's calling in or having any kind of technical issues with the poll.
Someone is also not in Rochester or Buffalo.
Those are because most of this is through Rochester and Buffalo, those are the restaurants that we selected. These don't necessarily expire. So I would say if at some point, you're in the area, either in Buffalo or Rochester, you could still use these. The restaurants will have a list of voucher numbers. So they'll be able to see, if it's something you used. Unfortunately, that's kind of the best we can do at this moment.
Adam, one of our colleagues at Pathstone, he is messaging folks in the chat for their full name so that they can be sent a food voucher. He just wanted those without their full name displayed. He's reaching out to them.
Perfect. All right, so I'll go ahead and end the poll, and then we can go ahead and continue. Anyone that didn't get a chance to select your voucher, or you're kind of up in the air, again, feel free to email me directly, and I can make sure to get a voucher out to you for today's participation.
Now, a little while ago, I saw we had a question. Now it's Q&A time, so please let us know how we did today. Give us any questions you might have. But there was a question a little while ago. Why would you need to include your retirement plan on that statement of net worth? It's it's because it's one of your assets. There may be restrictions for how, withdrawing funds early, that type of thing, but it is an asset that you would have to list. Yes, we can definitely get you the link to the opening video.
Yes, and this workshop will be rebroadcasted on YouTube if you need to go back to refer to anything. But, feel free to type in any other questions, as well as if you want to say it, you can unmute yourself as well. Okay, so also, before we go into anything else, if you plan on attending next week's workshop, which is on business credit versus personal credit, you can print your credit reports for free at annualcreditreport.com. Please print all 3 of your credit reports so that when we're going through the workshop, you can actually reference to your specific report.
We have a question about downloading the PowerPoint. What do you?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and send out a post-workshop email where you'll be able to download the PowerPoint. And as Letitia said, follow us on, I'll put it in here so you can kind of see. You can follow us on our YouTube page at Biz Up Buffalo, social media accounts. We will have the video up on YouTube so that you can kind of go back and recap on maybe anything that you missed, or, something that you really want to focus on. Because I think viewing the video will help you as well, just like filling out your budget. And that was in the email that was sent today. So there's a link to the Excel spreadsheet itself, if you have Excel, and if not, there's a tab where you can download the PDF file as well, just in case, you don't have Excel. But I think it's definitely good to kind of take a look over it and just really sit down and think about what your income and expenses are. Because I think for most people, top of mind, they think, rent or mortgage, food, gas, kind of your usual suspects, right? But there's really those little random expenses that you don't always account for. The, birthday parties are big, right? Someone's birthday or the holidays, or maybe a vacation, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a grand one, but, maybe you decide you want to take a road trip and now you're not spending only, $100 in gas a month. Now, all of a sudden that particular month you spent $300. So little by little, you start to see like it really does add up. So I think it's definitely great exercise to kind of sit down and really go through your numbers. So you see where you're at, and where you want to be, right? You may be closer than you actually think. Or, on the flip side, you may have a little work to do, but it's definitely doable. So like I said, we'll have those emails out, and you can go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. There are other videos on there as well. Some business development videos. There's, our previous workshop series, which was the survival kit series. We had a child care provider series as well. So, it's great information that we kind of have posted there, and it lives there forever. So feel free to subscribe and enjoy those videos. And I'll give it back to David and Letitia in case you folks have any other questions regarding, financing, budgeting. This is the time to ask, right? Not everyone sits down with any type of like financial consultant to really get into the nitty gritty of what's happening with their budget. So feel free to ask, folks.
We're here for you.
Right, and just some things to think about when you're completing your budget, which we did include as an Excel sheet as well as a PDF in the original email. So feel free to go back and download it if you didn't. A lot of the screens in the PowerPoint are copies of the actual form that we submitted. But just some things to think about when you complete your budget. is your income enough? Are you at a positive or a negative when you actually complete your budget? So some things to think about. If you are, positive, that's great. So then you need to, ask yourself, what are you going to do with that extra money? So a budget is to allow your money to do what you want it to do. Do you want to save more? Do you want to invest? Do you want to prepare for your business? So those are things to think about. If you're saving for multiple things, maybe getting multiple savings accounts that are specific for that, such as an emergency fund. With everything that happened with the pandemic, we see having that extra money is valuable. So, trying to get to the 6 to 12 months. And I know some people might say, wow, it's hard to save money, but you got to think about it like this. The average person stays at their job 3 to 5 years. If you save $20 a week, after 5 years, you will have $5,000. So that is enough to get you by a couple, months, 1 or 2 months. And if you reduce your expenses, you could probably stretch it longer. So those are things to think about. Also, if you're at a negative, then you need to go through your budget, and that's when you really need to decide, like, okay, do I need a $200 cable bill? Do I need any of it? Do I even watch these subscriptions that I'm subscribing to? Do I need to get a second job? Do I need to earn more money? So all things that are important to think about after you actually complete the budget, and then go through everything. There's some benefits to why it's important to separate your accounts. Basically, so you're not tempted to spend money that you don't have. Some banks, there's a delay with them actually pulling things out of your account. If it's sitting there, you may think, okay, I checked my app, I have $100. No, you have $20. And you don't want to pay bank fees because that will mess your budget up. So just some things to think about. But no matter what, hole you get in, or no matter how you mess your budget up, you can always, fix it and start over and get, to the next step. So if 1 month you're not on track, it's just like a diet. Next month, we're going to get it. So just to think about that when you're going through and actually completing your budget.
Great points. Little steps can make a huge difference. In that video at the top of the hour, Ms. De La Rosa gave us a lot of that.
So we had a question in here. Do you recommend turning off auto pay for bills or subscriptions? It's really a personal preference, but for me, the only things that are on auto debit is my car insurance, because they actually give you a discount for being on auto debit. My student loans, because they give you a discount on the interest for having it as auto debit. But pretty much everything else, no, I don't want anyone just taking money out of my account. But if it's something that I know is a fixed amount and I know that I'm getting a benefit out of it, then I do have it as an auto debit. Let's see.
Letitia, we have a question. It says, would you recommend debt consolidation to improve credit score? I'm not sure if you went over that already, but that's one of the questions we have.
Oh, I didn't see that. So it's a personal choice in regards to that. I would say stay tuned for our workshop next week, because we're going to go into credit, and as well as, things that you can do to improve your score. So once you go through the workshop, and if those options are not going to help you, then maybe, debt consolidation will be another option. But it's really per person. It's not, everyone's, situation is different. But it's not the first go-to, I would say that. So then we have a recommendation for small business accountant for tax filing in Buffalo. We cannot give any referrals. I'm sorry about that. And then someone did give a referral for that, though, in there. But personally, we can't give any. Was there any other questions that we missed?
No, not. I don't see any new ones just yet. Oh, wait, there's one right there. Would you recommend banks or credit unions?
I don't have a preference. I actually have both for different reasons. Both are great. Both are federally insured. So it's really a personal preference. But I would say for your personal account that you're spending money, you may want to do that with a commercial bank because there's more locations. So then you don't run into that problem of paying the ATM fees. Great question, though. Thank you.
Absolutely. Some of it might come down to what a bank is going to offer you versus the credit union. If you're trying to get a loan, you would compare the terms of the loan. The interest rate on the savings account is probably not going to be very, very high in either case, but those types of things, you just got to shop with your eyes open.
Yeah, I use my credit union for my bills account because I don't have as much access to that account, which is great for a bills account because your bills are going to come out of it. Also, they have lower fees just in general.
Right.
You know how much you guys enjoy the Jeopardy music, so maybe this will bring up some questions. All right, we have a question. Do you recommend a line of credit for businesses?
First question I would ask myself is, what do I need it for? Is it kind of a nice to have thing, or is it you're going to be using it? It's definitely helpful in certain circumstances. But I don't know if there's a blanket answer. I think you got to drill down to your need.
Right. It's an individual choice because with business, there's a lot of different things, especially with some of the providers or vendors that you're using. They may offer net 30 accounts, so you don't necessarily need a line of credit. But if you're looking to build your business credit, having a line of credit that you're not using or maybe using for, something, a subscription that you have for your business is a fixed amount, could be helpful to if you're on track to try to build your credit. So it really depends on what you're trying to use it for.
And we do have another question. It says, any tips on building assets for yourself?
It depends on what type of assets you are comfortable with. Some assets require risk and some people are averse to risk. So I would say research each one and find out what's best for you. But there's really no bad strategy for that. It's really a personal preference in regards to that. But everything starts with information. So you don't know what you don't know until you seek it out. So I would say research it and go from there.
It's important to know that your assets, you build your assets, your personal assets through your budgeting, through being cash flow positive on a monthly basis. So that's how you increase your personal assets and your personal net wealth.
Can you guys maybe break down just assets in general? So maybe some examples of kind of like a starter pack of like, if I know it's different for each person, but if maybe you can just break it down so they understand maybe what some assets could potentially be.
Sure. Your typical assets are going to be your bank accounts and your savings accounts and investments, retirement plan, market value of real estate that you own. Those are your assets, and you want to build those up. You increase those by being cash flow positive every month or over a period of time.
Right, and we had a comment in the chat as well from Connie. Just, if you have a seasonal business, having that, line of credit is something good as well. So that I thought that was a great point.
Sometimes businesses use lines of credit to manage receivables and payables. So if they're having trouble collecting from customers their payments on a timely basis, but they have bills to pay, and if you're a new business, you might not get favorable credit terms at the beginning. So there might be a disconnect where you're not collecting from your customers as quickly as you need it to pay your vendors and to pay your suppliers. So a line of credit can help with that type of a situation, can manage the cash. It's very typical to start your business with a personal credit card. So many of us have done that.
And when you do your taxes, if you're starting out with a personal credit card, just so you can kind of keep all of your expenses on one when it's time to do taxes, I guess, is there anything you should know, when you're doing it like that? Is there anything specifically that you have to, I guess, take to your tax preparer? Or, when's a good time to transition into a business credit card versus, just a credit card that you had under your personal name, but you use for business expenses?
At the beginning, it's probably difficult to get a business credit card for your business because your business is brand new or doesn't have much of a history. So that's why it's pretty typical to use your personal. To go to a tax preparer, bring your receipts, statements. I've seen people just take their statements out and mark them up. This is business on a personal credit card statement. This is a business expense. This is a business expense. Something that clear speeds up the process a lot because there isn't as much confusion from the tax preparer.
Right. And when you're starting a business, you don't, depending on what type of business you set it up as, if you're just doing a DBA, it's $40 in Buffalo. And you can open a business bank account with the DBA. So it's kind of better to have your business separated from your personal. It gets really sticky once you're using business things with your personal, but in the beginning sometimes that happens that way, but the more you can separate it, the better.
And if you don't need a credit card for your business, it's really important to start a business bank account, and then you'll have a debit card. And if you can manage just having the debit card for your business, you're going to be a lot better off, because like Letitia just said, you'll be keeping your records distinct, business from personal. Just clear. It's easier to read.
So, and just wrapping it back to like the budgeting, if your goal is to start funding your business, having that clear view of how much you're bringing in from your own personal business and how much you can give to the business you're starting, it's going to be helpful. I know sometimes if you have a budget in place, you can actually plan, okay, I need this amount of money to start my business, and you can actually see if you're going to reach that through your personal budget. So budgeting is key. It's going to help you in, both areas, for business and for personal.
Absolutely. These are great questions.
All right. Any other questions coming through, or anything you guys want to just cover real quick or recap before we jump off?
Well, we want to stress again how appreciative we are that you joined us today. And don't forget to print out your credit report for next week. And
there's the website, folks, just in case you missed it in the chat.
In the chat as well, if you learned something new today, or if this information was helpful, please give us your feedback. That would be appreciated.
Yeah, I want to give quick feedback. And it was from the very beginning during the video when the lady spoke about the amount of money that you're bringing in for 2 weeks or the month. if you look at it on a weekly basis, now you're working with a specific number each week, and you could interval 7 days. Okay, I'm gonna utilize this amount for this, and I'm gonna take this amount for that specific number, whatever it is. So I like that breakdown a lot, and I made sure to write it down. So thanks for sharing that.
No problem. Thank you for sharing as well.
Thanks for the feedback. Yes.
Did anyone have any like aha moments or anything that they're already currently doing? Can people comment in the chat if they already had separate accounts for their bills and their spending money? Is that something that we're already doing?
All right, I'm going to keep the momentum going.
Please.
And when you all spoke about assets, that's you made me think about the things that I'm doing in my life, accumulating multiple assets. So it feels good to have different endeavors where I'm bringing in multiple sources of income along with the 9-to-5 check. And ultimately that can lead to more financial freedom or help with even more investments to turn my assets into even more assets.
That's great. I'm glad that you
That's
saw
great.
that, and thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And I think going to kind of the beginning of the series, maybe having those different assets or different avenues of income is what we're talking about when we're saying leaving a legacy for your family, you know, and your community, right? So we're making sure that we're well-rounded. We have a couple people, looks like, commenting in the chat. Tiffany, she has several separate accounts. And Lisa says the information about the assets is great.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
She says she really didn't understand much about them. So, you know, maybe there's something that we can break down. Okay, and we have someone else saying they have a checking account for bills, 2 savings accounts, one for short-term savings goals and one for long-term goals. And they place everyday expenses on a credit card. So it looks like they have things kind of budgeted out. That's good.
That's a good approach. Would you agree, Letitia?
Yeah, definitely. Just a fun trivia. I want people to comment in the chat how many accounts they think I have.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we have a couple more people chiming in. Let's see. So looks like someone says they never thought about getting different savings accounts for different reasons. They always just had one savings account with everything in it, but maybe now's the time to, you know, separate it out.
Definitely. One of the savings accounts that I always suggest to a lot of my clients is a Life Happens account. So like the Life Happens account are those things that we know will happen, but they haven't happened yet. So you may have a car accident. Do you have that money set aside for your deductible? If you own a home, maybe your hot water tank or something like that, and that is separate from your emergency fund and separate from, you know, just your basic savings.
Are they right? Do you have 7 accounts?
This is the trivia. Delicia, she's the closest. I have 13 accounts right now. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Someone else also commented right before I answered. So.
And so how do you keep track of all of those accounts? Because I think that's maybe something that seems a little overwhelming for some people, just having so many accounts.
Budgeting helps. Since some of them are just basically savings that I'm saving for different things, I don't have to check them as frequently. And then I have some real estate as well, so I have to keep them separate. I have a business, I have to keep that separate, and then, personal. So some things don't have to be accounted for as frequently, but I would say the testament is budgeting. I can remember budgeting when I didn't make that much. My very first job was at Darien Lake, and they were paying like $5 at that time, and I had a budget for my little $5 so I could make sure that when school time came, I had what I wanted for, my school clothes. So it's never a small amount of money that you may have that you don't need a budget. Budgeting helped me to be able to buy my first house at 22. So you have to, just start where you are.
Okay. And Connie, she just said, be careful, with those bank accounts that are under X amount of dollars, so if you want to have 13 accounts or 2 accounts, just make sure, that you understand if you need to have a minimum balance, or if you need some type of like direct deposit or anything like that. Just make sure you understand your account, so then, you're not getting stuck with, fees that you didn't expect to be coming out of your account.
Right, and great point, Yara, in regards to the direct deposit. A lot of people it's easier to make your budget after you have your budget set up to actually go to your employer and ask them to direct deposit that amount into each different account. Some employers do up to 4 or 3 that you can actually have the money split through to each account, and then you don't have to take the money out and then go to this bank and go to that bank. And it also adds that extra barrier if okay, my bills account, my money for my bills is already in my bills account. I don't have to put it in there. So that's definitely helpful.
It's great feedback, folks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And to Letitia's point, somebody's saying, you can also have the bank move your money automatically. So again, it's just understanding your accounts, making sure you really know what's happening, so you're not stuck with any kind of surprises.
Right.
Anyone else? Anything you guys want to divulge? All right. I think we're good right now.
We're good.
Yeah. So again, thank you everyone for attending. As I mentioned before, we'll have a post workshop email that goes out. You'll be able to download the PowerPoint. Also subscribe to our YouTube page at Biz Up Buffalo. You'll be able to go back and really just take your time going through the video. Again, if there's anything that you want to focus on or anything, you missed. Finance is a big topic, a little intimidating at times, but, little by little, you'll get through it. So, and like I said before, we do have other videos up there, in case you're curious as to like the previous workshops that we've done and things like that. We will be back next week, same time, same channel, going over session 2 of Money Talks. As we also have this Friday, our small business forum. We have those bi-weekly. So this Friday is one of the weeks that we're having our small business forum. It's going to be tailored to women entrepreneurs, and basically just understanding the importance of collaboration, and just how we're going to work together to really move our way forward, because women are actually one of the, the top demographics that are opening small businesses and that are really, becoming entrepreneurs. So in the chat, you'll see Dion just put in the chat, you can sign up for the small business forum, and you'll see the multiple dates there. But this Friday, particularly this Friday, is going to be geared towards women entrepreneurs. We're having our guest speaker is going to be Sarah Vesio. She's from the Canisius Women's Business Center. So it'll be great. Again, a great discussion. if you have any questions, you know, feel free, bring them all, because that's what this is about. It's not, you know, it really is more of us trying to be interactive. You know, we don't want to just talk to, you know, talk at you. Like, we want to make sure that you're really understanding the information that is being delivered. And, you know, I feel like we're learning both ways, right? So there's things that Letitia and David are providing you with information, but, you know, we need to know what's going on your end, because that can then help with, you know, maybe them looking into some other details that maybe, you know, weren't present. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We really appreciate you spending your lunchtime with us. And again, we will see you next week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.